The dog, who slept beside his master's grave every night, suddenly meets his owner. Captain was bought as a gift by Mr. Guzman for his 13-year-old son Damien. We all know no matter what, dogs are believed to be loyal and man's best friend and the best gift for anyone. After a while, the father passed away, and with a heavy heart, he was buried forever. As time passed, their loved ones moved on, but not this dog. What he did became a piece of national news. Then one day, the dog, Captain, met his master, whom he missed dearly. When Miguel Guzman left the world in 2006, the whole family visited the cemetery to bury him. It was far away from they lived, and the dog named Captain was said to be left at home. But when the family returned home, they found that the pet had gone missing, and was nowhere to be found. The family assumed that he must have run away. However, one day they found him in the most unexpected place. Several months later, they again went to the cemetery to pay their respect to the deceased and saw something unbelievable. The family saw Captain lying beside the grave of Miguel Guzman. Turns out he was the most affected by the man's demise. To their astonishment, neighbors told them how they started to feed the dog when they realized he slept by the grave each night. What amazed the family the most was that the cemetery was a long way from where they lived and Capitan had never accompanied them there before he disappeared. It was a mystery how the animal found the grave. He turned up here one day, all on his own, and started wandering all around the cemetery until he eventually found the tomb of his master. Hector Bacega, director of the cemetery, said. The dog and Damien recognized each other, and according to the widow, Veronica, the pet ran toward them, barking and wailing as if it was crying at the loss. The animal would spend the day with the family members and by the evening he would return to the grave. The dog would spend every night with the late Mr. Guzman. It looked like he didn't want to leave the deceased man on his own at night. According to the director, every day at 6 o'clock sharp, Captain would lie down on top of the grave and stay there all night. The staff at the cemetery fed and took care of the faithful pooch until one day his time also came. The son Damien said that no matter how many times he tried to bring his pet back home, the god would eventually end up at the cemetery. Poignantly, he added, "I think he's going to be there until he passes away too. He's looking after my dad." His word came true, as after many years, the faithful dog left the world peacefully and hopefully reunited with his beloved. Before its demise, the dog was taken to the vet and unfortunately diagnosed with kidney failure. The vet who treated him told in an interview that since at this age, the dog's kidney failed, there was almost no hope of survival. She thought it best to treat him in the cemetery than at a veterinary surgery. Although the canine was well cared for by the cemetery caretakers, the graveyard life took its toll. Different reports have mentioned different years, but it might be safe to say that the pet dog spent more than a decade at the grave. The town members compared the Capitan to Japan's Hachiko, the Akita dog who waited for his owner at their meeting point at a train station for approximately 9 years after his demise. Hachiko became a national hero in Japan, and the animal was so famous that there have been several movies made on his loyalty. Reportedly, the pet has his own bronze statue next to Shibuya train station in Tokyo, and it has become a tourist point. Isaburo Ueno, a professor, adopted Hachiko and soon two became best of friends. They became inseparable. The animal would go to the station to pick him up at the station in the afternoon when he returned from work. A few years later, Hachiko as usual waited at the station for his owner to return, but his owner never came at the station. It turned out that Isaburo had suffered from a cerebral hemorrhage and lost his life suddenly and unexpectedly while at work. Although the canine was adopted by someone else, he kept going to the Shibuya train station every day. A major Japanese newspaper reporter picked up the story of Hachiko in 1932 and published it, as a result Hachiko becoming a celebrity for Japanese people. After reading the story, most of the Japanese would go to the station to look at the pet and feed him. A statue of Hachiko was in his honor at a grand ceremony in front of Shibuya train station while he was alive, and the dog was the main guest at the ceremony. The faithful animal peacefully passed away alone on the street near the Shibuya train station.